Yeah guys, how are you all? How are you doing? So today I'm going to take you through what they call a navigation bar, and we're going to see how we're going to forgo this. So without wasting time, let's begin. I'm going to use my IDE as Visual Studio, which is right here, and these are some of the shortcuts that you can find in Visual Studio. It's a very good IDE, so if you can get access to it, it's okay. But also others may have this Sublime text editor. It is also good. Yeah, it's good for everyone. Others can have Atom, which is right here. I use it also to write my code. It's a very good IDE too. So yeah, so I'm going to open my new document that we are going to deal with. Control N, and then I have to save it. So I'll just press Control Shift S, then I'm going to name it, let's say prac.html. I save. Remember, we shall also need what they call the CSS file, so I will also open another document. I save it as well. I save it as prac.css. I save it. I think you can see right here on my left hand side, everything that I put right here is going to show up here with its icon. When I say prac.css, it's showing me this logo for CSS. Prac.html, it's showing me here in different colors. So without wasting time, let's begin. The good thing with this, you can easily come up with what you want. So right here, I'm just going to, before that, let me show you. This is where I'm going to keep my files. So once I click here, you can see the details right here. Let me try to make it a little bigger. So right here, this is where I put all my files. There are very many because I've worked on various projects, and it can be depicted right here on the left hand side. So don't get worried where I get or where I store my files. So let's begin. Here we go. So right here we're in prac.css, so I need to get access to prac.html. I start writing my HTML syntax. I'll press Shift, then a tab. That's to Visual Studio. But if you're not in Visual Studio, like when you go to Sublime Text Editor right here, it's not the same thing. For example, if you're dealing with something of this sort, you can access. If you're dealing with Sublime Text, this is what you do. The moment you type that and then you say doc type, it should be in capital, doc type, then remove caps, HTML, you close, you press enter. The moment you go and then start typing the moment you type that, it's going to bring HTML automatically to complete. So that's the same way I've used the other IDE, which is the Visual Studio. You just type in exclamation mark, then a tab key. Automatically the syntax comes. So right here we are going to come up with something of this sort. I'm going to come up with this navigation bar slowly with something of this sort, though the background image may change, though you can put any other image you want, so it may be somehow different. So let's proceed with the object. So here we're going to have a container, and it's in the container where we're going to have all our content. As you can have a box, within the box there is some content in that box. For example, you may say I have a box of milk, and within the milk box there are milk packets. So that's how the thing is going to be. So right here we're going to have our container, and then we shall come up with our div. So with the div right here in our body, so we're going to come up with a div, div. So here what we're going to put in right here as our class is going to be container. This is simply because we want each and everything to be contained within this container. and we are putting it in a div simply because div works with a collection and class does well with what we call differentiation or collection of content. How would you define that content? So that's what we're looking for right here. So we have our container, and if we have our container, within the container, remember we are coming up with something of this sort. So this is what they call the content that is here is right in a container. By then, when you look at this and this is what they call our header. So right here is what they call the header. So that's what we're going to come up with right here. So I have to say header and right there. So when I write in the header, I would also need to put what the header is going to contain. The header is going to contain the navigation bar, which is right here. So we go to the navigation bar, you simply type in nav. So within the navigation bar, what's going to be there? Within the navigation bar, that's where we're going to have our content. This for you to be capable of having home, contact, login, services, about, then that's why we're going to head back and we put a UL, and the UL for the UL is going to be having what we call our list. So that's when we bring in the list bit. So we're going to copy and paste several of these because we want to have let me see how many do you have right here. We have 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, there are 5. So we can put anything right here. So I'm not going to say that you should put the same things as I put there. So Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V, Ctrl V, 1 2 3 4 5. It does not matter. You can even put something like 6 of them depending on what you want. So right here we're going to start feeding in our data. We see we have home, contact, login, home. So we try to type in home, try to put in contact, we try to put in login, we go back and we check services and then about. So we come right there and we put in services. After services, we go with what they call about. So guys, right here you must save each and every step that you do when it comes to HTML. So Ctrl S to save each and everything. And the good thing with this kind of integrated development environment is that you can easily check without even going to your browser like this. I may not even go there like that. I'll just need to come right here and then I will say I'll move right there and then I'll open with live server. So the live server will show me what's there, and this is the content that we've put right there. So guys, I want you to be with me. So this is what we have. We get back to our page. So how are we going to connect this with the prac.css to come up with our cascade styling sheet? Then within this, we need to name our document that we are going to be dealing with. I'll just call this one the nav, and then we save. But I think you can realize that right here we have nav, which was not there initially. So the title is going to be appearing within the top of your browser. So let's get back, and then we need to connect the HTML with the cascading styling sheet. So within this head, that's where we're going to bring in our link. So you type link, then tab link. This shows the relation, and then it is style sheet, then the hyperreference where you're going to connect, which is the prac.css. CSS. This helps the communication between the cascading sheet and then the HTML. Ctrl save. So when we go right here, we see nothing is appearing. So we've not yet started dealing with what we want. And right here, we see nothing is appearing. But remember, we said we're going to design something of this sort. So I may show you guys how we're going to do this slowly by slowly. Yes, stay with me and hang up. So let's go. Now, since we have this content, then we need to deal with the cascading styling sheet. First of all, you just need to do one thing, and that is coming up with the universal selector. The universal selector, what it does, it just takes care of each and everything that's going to be within your document. So I'll give it margin 0, and then I will give it padding 0. This is because you want to control the padding and the margin all in the universal selector. Control S. So when you get back right here, nothing has changed, but I think you can realize that initially it was of this sort. It was kinda right here. Let me just show you. Let's just try to comment out this. So when you get back and you try to refresh, nothing is happening. Sorry. So we try to highlight all this and remove it. So when we get back to our browser and you try to, sorry, I never saved. That's the mistake that you can make. So I have saved. So I get back. You realize that we have this right here. This is what we are having. So to bring that to a close, we need to put the things in order. So how are we going to do this? That's when we introduced in what they call the padding and then the margin. Padding 0, margin 0, and then when we get back to our content, that's why it appears to be right here. So let's continue. We see for our prac.html we need it to appear in various ways, so that's why I'm now heading furthermore, and we define what our header is going to be and what our nav is going to be. So right here within the nav, I think let's give it a class, since we want to make it kind of different from the header. So we're giving it a class, and let's just equate it to let's call it nav. The class should be nav, and then we also need to make our header different. So for our header to be different, why don't we also introduce in a class? So when we introduce in a class, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it the top. So if we call it the top, that means things are going to be different. Things in the header are going to be different with the things in the nav. And in the nav we have the UL and then the LI. So when I go to I control S, then that means saving. So when I go to my container, right there I need to define what my container is going to have. And if you can check right here in the container, I used class. So I come here and I say dot container. Why have I not put an hashtag? This is because hashtag is not considering the class, but hashtag considers the ID. But right here I'm dealing with the class. So container, I'm going to give it a width of 100%, and then I'll give it a margin. For that I would call 0 for top and bottom, and then I'll try to make it auto to balance the left and right. So I use Control S, and then I go back to my browser. This is how it's appearing, and nothing has changed so far. And if you try to refresh, so we go ahead and then we try to come up with our header right away. Remember we said we need something of this sort. Tech world should be at the top. How are we going to do that? You come just right here, then H1, you need H1. So we put in tech world as our tech world. So if we put in tech world, Control S, but then why don't we make this one capital? So Control S, we go back to our browser. which is right here. And I think as you can see that here it has turned into take world. So if it's take world, that means we are good to go. So what are we going to do next? We are going to go ahead and then we try to design a more and well designed environment. So we go back to our IDE. I get back to practice.css, and then I will need to define the header. Remember, we use the class which is top. So to define that, I'll go right here, and then I'll be like dot top. And let me try to make this look somehow better this way. I'll just forward it to the right. So I'm going to do here as I show you right here, to avoid moving this way, that way, this way, that way. So let's try to figure this out. I'll give the header a color. I'll call it color. I'll give it color. Which color should we give it? Let me try to give it brown. What else do we need? I need to, yeah, I think apparently let's give it brown, and then go back right here. It hasn't changed so far. Why? Simply because I have not saved. So I try to save that, and then when I get back, I think you can see brown is appearing right here. So but I need something that is going to catch all the content, and then I'm going to move this content area to one side such that it can appear like this. How am I going to do it? That means I'll need to call in the navy or the nav right here, such that I can be capable of controlling. You can see right here it is a class. I will say dot nav. So if I put dot nav, I open the brackets right there. So I'm going to start working on the nav, but remember what I want to do is to bring an effect on the UL. So I would need to call the UL right there. Once I need to call the UL right there, then I'll go for a background. How do I like it to appear? Right there, I'll say I most especially like the RGB format. The RGB format just helps us. You see, it defines colors, but this time around I'm going to give it a 0 right there. There I'm going to give it 100 because I want the color to be green, and right there I'll give it a 0. Control S. Once I get back to my browser, I think you can realize that it has changed right here. So I would like to display this content here. What am I going to do? I'll go back to my IDE, and then I'll try to go to display. So display, what am I going to display? I'll go for inline flex. Inline flex enables you to put your content in a horizontal way. So when I try to save and then go back, you can realize how it is right now. So but you can see that really something has changed a lot, and what has changed, it is something of the percentage, how it appears, the percentage in width. So I'll need to go back and change the width. So where am I going to change the width from? Right away go to what they call so let's continue right here. We display in inline flex, and then we shall go ahead and then try to have the list style. Like, okay, I would wish to show you this, because once you go back right here and you try to refresh, something is not right. So I think you can see that we had our width as 100%, but now it's going back in this format. So we need to remove these small dots. So we shall say we don't want anything like, we shall say text align. Okay, we want it to appear in the middle. So why don't we say text align, text align we shall say center. So Control S and then we get back. So we try to, I don't know why it's not responding, because that's what should happen right here. Once we try to display the content, let's first undo this file and then we see Control S, get back. Yeah, so here it's appearing like this. Sorry, I had made a mistake, by then you can realize that we're back again. So right here we see the color is green and then we have some small dots. And so how we're going to remove these dots, that's when we come in and then we use what they call the text, the list style. The list style helps us to do away with the dots. So list style I would say none, then save. So when I get back to my browser, I think you can realize that there is nothing like dots anymore. So we need to arrange the things back to the way they were. So we get back, then that's when I'll bring in what they call I brought in the text align, I brought in the background, I brought in the background, the text align, and then the list style. So this time round, since we're done with the UL, which is this, that means we're going to call in for li. So we have to give it a direction. Let me try to deal with this space. So we're going to copy this right here, Ctrl C, and then we head right here, press enter, Ctrl V. Don't forget to put the dot for class. By then we're dealing with the li. So once we bring in the li, bring in the brackets, and then we go further and we try to define how this thing is going to look like. So that's how we're going to bring in the display. With this you need to be very careful, that's why it had appeared to be very naughty at the time. So I would like inline flex, Ctrl S. Once we go back to our browser, I think you can see that right now is clear, and then it has not disturbed me moving away from this way to the other way. So this is what we have, and then we need to space that. How we're going to space that, that's how we're going to use the width. So when I go to the ULI, then I'll go for width. I'll give it something like 200 pixels or 120 pixels. I Ctrl S and then I go back to my browser. I see, like, I think you guys can realize the space that we have right here is kind of very big space between them than the first way it was. So after that I will need to have a padding such that my text can easily be seen by you guys. So padding, that's just the area that is around the content. You consider the top, bottom, then left and right. So for padding right here, I would just simply put something like 15 pixels. I control and save. I go back. I think you can see we've now gotten space up, below, and then left and right. That's where we are right now. So what are we going to do next? When we get back to our area where we first got in our first browser, you see that we can hover over this and this and this with the color changing right here. So how are we going to do it again? So making things to hover, we're just going to introduce in what we call the anchor tag, and for that I'll need to select each and everything right here. That's the good thing with this IDE, you can write stuff at the same time. So I'll go right here and then I'll put in the anchor tag. So once the anchor tag is there, what are we going to do next? Anchor tag. Then after you've had your anchor tag, that means you'll need to call in for hyperreference. Once the hyperreference is there, then you'll need to go in for the hashtag. Since we have nothing currently, that is running there, so we can utilize the hashtag to help us go through this. And then likewise we are going to close our anchor tag. How? Here I'm just going to use the alt, and then I will select where I want this to appear. So I want it to appear there, so I would say, oh sorry, repeat. I go right there, I select here, I select here, I select here, I select here. What do I want? I want to put this, close, then anchor tag. That's what I want, then close. Yeah, so we are good to go. Control S to save. So we get back to our browser right here. I think you can realize that now it's kind of blurry and we have nothing right there. Something is not happening right. Let's try to figure it out. How is it appearing to be that way and why? We see we've come up with what we call the anchor tag, and then with the anchor tag we need to close from here. Yeah, you can realize that we are not closed right here, because this contact, oh sorry, you see this red thing? It just simply means we already had the anchor tag closure. So we shall just eliminate this. We try to eliminate this. We try to eliminate this. That's why I told you guys you need to be careful when it comes to each and everything that you're doing right there. So we try to eliminate some of these, and you can see right here we have nothing that is really closing, so we need something to close that. So once it's there, then you need to remove this anchor tag, and right here you just need to close that, but we don't need we need the one that was initially there. Oh my gosh, what are we going to put? Let me go back. We have contact, oh my god. So we have contact. I'll just put something like item, not to waste time. I'll put something like item. So once we have item there, then we need to close the anchor tag, so it's there. And then right here we have the login. You just need to close this, sorry, you just need to close this, and right here the same thing, close this and remove this anchor tag because it's not necessary. Then here the same thing, we try to close this and then remove this anchor tag. Yeah, so guys, that's why you need to be very careful. So we press Ctrl S such that we can save. So when we get back right here, I think guys you can realize that we are having contact, item, services, about, then login. They are back to normal. Why is login this way? Let's get back, and we realize we are having an anchor tag closing element right there. We eliminate it, Ctrl S, get back. You try to go back, and now it's the same thing. But you can see right here we're having contact, item, login, services, and about. They are colored blue. Why? This is simply because these are code links. So to make these look the way we want, and that we want them to be white, what are we going to do? We are going to copy this right here. After copying, Ctrl C, then get back right there. So Ctrl V. With Ctrl V, then we're going to introduce in the anchor. Of course, we are going to deal with the links. So open our quotes, and then we go on like this. I would give it a color. Which color? I would just want the white color. I press Ctrl S, then I get back. What am I seeing? Oh my god, it has turned white. Yeah, this is a very easy this thing is. So we get back right there. What do we want? You can see that right here we have white color, but we don't want this white. I mean we don't want these white lines below. our content. So we can eliminate them by using the text decoration stuff. How are we going to do that? So once you go there, what you're going to do, you're just going to type in text decoration. I have it right here. So that thing below this right here is what they call emit. That's why you see me, I just type a little bit of it and then it just comes abruptly. So we shall say none, and then Ctrl S. So I get back right there. Nothing and nothing you can notice from there. So how did it work out? This is the way it worked out. I introduced in the color, which is white. It changed to white from the blue text to white. Then text decoration, how it was decorated on below with the lines, and then I made it none, so nothing is appearing right there. So then we need to make a hover. How do you know hover? Hover here, guys complaining. Hover is just something of this kind. You just hover over an element and then you give it anything you want it to appear. So I'm just going to make this work out in this format. Where do I even need to go there? I'll just call in this again. I'll just copy. Today, this time round, I'm just going to copy the nav ul and then li. I'm not going to copy the anch tag. Then down there, I'll just paste, and then I'll open my brackets. After opening my brackets, what am I going to deal with? I'll need hovering. So I'll come right there after the li. I put in a full colon and then write hover. That means we are going to start hovering. I think guys are just waiting. What are we going to do? How is hovering? This is how it's going to be. We're going to have our background during the hover. Background, I'm going to I very much like orange. I don't know why, I just find myself with orange. Maybe I fall in love for orange. So, and then I'll try to put in a let's first save by the one, then we try to get back and we see how this thing is. So we go right here. I think guys you can see we can now hover around our text, but then let's make it soundly. Yeah, we can say right there we can say 2 seconds. Ctrl save, we get back, and then I think guys you can realize, oh sorry, let's forget that. Let's try forgetting that, and then I know where we shall do it from, because that's going to be in another chapter, you guys. I'm going to give you more details, and then the reason as to why I've left it out is going to confuse some of you, so but I think you can see this. So for us to be capable of having something of this sort like this, you can see the curves around the corners of the border. How does that come about? That's when we introduce in the border radius. So the border radius is helping us out to make what they call the curved corners. So I'll go for border radius, and then I'll just give it 3 pixels, then Ctrl S to save. So I'll need to go back to my browser. I think now you can realize that there are now corners around. So guys, I think we are already coming up with something of this sort, so we are not badly off. Then let's get back to beautify it more and more and more. So what are we going to do next? I think it's better we can come right here, and then we try to formulate this. We try to design this tech world in a different way. How are we going to design this background? I'll just come right there, I click enter, then H1, then I'll need that color. Let me say background. I'll need the background to be, I'll need it to be silver, and then I save. So I get back to my browser. Right there, silver is right there. Wow, it's now becoming beautiful and more beautiful. So that's it guys that we have. And then another thing, let me make sure that we have some image. We're going to have some image right here. So I get back to my content page, which is the HTML, and within this body, so when you're done with this section, we need to have an image right there. So I just press my enter key and then I'll try to come up with the image. It's the image, I'll just type img, then I'll click the tab and then I'll create a class. Which class should be equal to I need to give it, like I need to give in the file name. What am I going to call it? I'll call it the background. Let me just call it the background. I'll call it the background, such that when I go to my CSS style, when I call for background, it can easily respond. It is not affected by anything. So the source is just helping us to know where we are locating our images. When you look right here on my left hand side, I think you can realize that I opened up a folder right here. So within this folder website, I have various content, and is where I'm going to get my images, because I already have them in the images folder, which is right here. So with this, I'll just type in the dot, then / the moment I start typing image and then images, oh sorry, I was in the alternative text that can appear. So I'll just go there. The moment I start typing / then I try to type image, you can realize that right there I can be sure that I'm going to pick my content from where I want it. So I'll go for images, and after images, where is the image located? I'll just go in for the image, which is clear house .jpg. Yeah, it's clearhouse.jpg right here in the images folder. The image that I'm working with is right here, jpeg. So I'll go in .jpeg, then alternative text. With the alternative text, maybe I'll have to come in and I just say house. Then I save that and try to look for the outcome. I think guys, you can realize this, we are having this, but remember it's showing that it's at the left hand side, but we want it to cover all of this. So how are we going to do that? We get back to our cascade styling sheet. The cascade styling sheet is going to help us do away with that. So why don't I just go right here? After you've hovered, come there. So we have our class as background, so I'll just say dot background, and then I'll open up my brackets and try to go there. So I'm going to make it appear like it has covered the whole page. So I'll just give it a width. It will be 100%. You may ask yourselves why have I put it to 100%. When we get back right here on top, I think you can realize that I gave this container width of 100%. So for it to cover this 100% too, I'll just need to assign it 100%. So when we get back to our browser right here, I think you guys can realize that now things are all set. So that's how easy this thing is. And also, not forgetting, we can also come up with what they call box sizing right here. So I will just say for box sizing, I would say box sizing, which is right here. then I'll call this border box, and you guys are going to realize something strange. I think you can see before I refresh or I save this. Check how this content is, and then after me saving, this is how it's going to be. So I press Ctrl S, I get back to my browser. I think you can see that it's kind of now more organized and kind of made more beautiful. So guys, I think that's what I have for you today, and yes, subscribe to my channel, comment and like, and then you can tell me what you want me to tell you about, or you can reach me at my email, which is just right there. So that's it. Thank you guys, and just wish you good luck.